Good evening and welcome to the second Meet the Candidates event hosted by the GBHO. A little bit of business first. The fire exits, the door that you had come in, that's one fire exit, and there's a second fire exit to the left of the dais up front here, and that'll get you out of the building. There's also a bathroom up here as well. First off, I want to say thanks to Nancy Tassilo for her letting us use this space. This is a courtesy, and we do appreciate it. The GBHO, or Goldensbridge Hamlet Organization, is a 501c3. We're a not-for-profit organization. The mission of the Goldensbridge Hamlet Organization is to preserve the historic and natural beauty of the Hamlet, drive initiatives that provide a positive impact for the residents, and work closely with public officials and local merchants in ensuring the future progress of Goldensbridge. Tonight, GBHO is in quorum. There are 3 trustees here tonight. Mickey Denicola, who's been checking you in at the front door, Jody Shearer up front here, and myself, Jonathan Monti. I am also going to be your moderator this evening. We are a not-for-profit organization, as said. We are nonpartisan, and this event tonight is here to help further educate all of us. In full disclosure, Tony Gonsalves was a trustee of the GBHO. He is no longer, but he is a liaison with the town board to the GBHO. And the last meeting that he did attend was in May of this year when we discussed the bulletin board that we had installed at the far end of the shopping center along with the little free library. A little shameless plug, if you'd like to find out more about the GBHO, goldensbridgehamlet.org, and we're always looking for volunteers. So the rules for this evening, they're pretty simple. As a teacher, we expect decorum. That's what I expect, and that's what we should expect from each other, okay? We're all neighbors here. These people are running for board, but they're your neighbor as well. We're going to treat each other with respect. If someone's acting in a disrespectful manner, I'm going to stop the event and ask them to please stop. If I have to ask after the 3rd time, I will stop the event and ask that person to leave, and I hope that you would join me in asking that person to leave. We're here to educate each other, okay? So we are not here to rip each other down and attack each other. The questions tonight, they're being written down and they're going to be handed into the moderator. I will ask the question to the board members. All 6 of the candidates will have an opportunity to answer the questions. All 6 of the candidates will have an opportunity to be the first person to answer the question, and all 6 of the candidates will have the opportunity to be the last person to answer the question. What we're going to start with in just a second is a 30-second introduction of each of the board members who are running, each of the candidates who are running. There was a roll of the dice as he who goes first, and Bill Bongiorno is going to be going first. And let me so if you don't know, we have Tony Gonsalves running for town board as a Democrat. He's running as his town supervisor. Bill Bongiorno is running for town supervisor as a Republican. The 2 new people to the Lewisboro game of politics, we have Mary Shaw sitting in the middle of the Democratic table, and we also have Allison Biddle running for town board for the Republicans, sitting in the middle of the Republican table. And the 2 final people who are known people in town politics, we have Jane Crimmins running for a town board seat, and we also have Andrea Rendo running for town board. Well, that was my 15 minutes of fame. So I'm going to hand it over now. So Bill, you have 30 seconds to just introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Bill Bongiorno. I'm a 19-year resident, 17-year business owner in town. I've been a scout leader and Lewisboro Baseball Association coach for 5 years. I already have a plan to bring a community center back to Goldensbridge. It was sold last year by Tony and Jane because they needed the money to run the town. That's why we're meeting in a video store and not a community center. Recently I worked with a donor as a private citizen to get $100,000 to fix the Lewisboro baseball field. Money was diverted away from that, and so I'm replacing that. And the next thing on my list is Fox Valley.
That was 30 seconds. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Bill. Tony?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Tony Gonsalves, currently board member, town board member, deputy supervisor, 29-year resident of Goldensbridge. I've worked in technology for quite a number of years, lately in business development, and very proud of my involvement with the town, with Goldensbridge, and everything that we've done so far. Including the service I've done to the town over the 20 plus years that I've been in this town. So looking forward to the next role. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Allison?
Hi, I'm Allison Biddle, a wife, mom from Cross River. At least I was until about one day a year ago when I walked into my yard and saw a cell phone tower being erected, one that neither I nor my neighbors had previous knowledge of. That incident propelled me to eventually become a candidate for the town council, and my campaign is focused on a few basic issues. We need transparency in town government. The fact that in 2019 this town board was able to sell the Goldensburg Community House in the same way they recently tried to sell the land on Lake Truesdale without an engineering study, without comparing to other real estate, without a public bid or auction for less than market value is just one example why this is so important.
Mary?
Hi, I'm Mary Shaw. I've been a resident of Lewisboro down in Vista since 2003. Sorry to make you do the math on that one. I've been a two-term library board trustee as well as vice president of the library board. I've served on the library fair committee for more years than that. Currently on the Conservation Advisory Council, so I care about the community as well as culture and the environment. I want to continue to serve of all of Lewisboro. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Rindo. I've lived in Lewisboro since 2006 with my family. I'm also an attorney, and I have an office within the town of Lewisboro where I focus on criminal defense and traffic matters. In addition, I'm also deputy village attorney in Harrison, where part of my job is advising the town board there. And I feel that these are some of the many attributes that would make me the best candidate as your next town board member.
Okay. And Jane?
Good evening. My name is Jane Dizot-Crimmins. I currently sit on your Lewisboro Town Board, and I have for the last 4 years. It is my absolute pleasure to serve you, and I look forward to continuing to do so. I have 3 children in town. They're 11, 8, and 5, all in the KLSD district. So as in addition to my town board position and some volunteer positions with the Scouts and things like that, I also do volunteering at the school. I'm a class parent, and I'm part of the ERJC committee, a district-wide committee that's continuing its work this year. I'm going to talk until I run out of time, which is that. That's it.
Candidates, thank you for your opening statements. Okay, so we're going to go on to the first question. And again, if you have questions as the evening comes along, please take a card, fill it out, and please bring it up, okay? And then I will ask that question. All right, thank you. All right, first question. First question, and Tony, you will be the first one to answer this one. Okay, in 90 seconds. So there are many NYS DOT changes slated for and around Goldman's Bridge. A clover leaf at exit 6, a shoulder that will double as a flex lane or a 4th lane on 684, as well as changes to the 684-84 interchange. How will the town board, or you as a town board member, take meaningful action to protect Goldman's Bridge from the additional traffic that will inevitably come? How will the town fight for or advocate for sight, sound, and pollution barriers needed to shield us in Goldman's Bridge from 684?
Thank you, John. So as part of the GBHO, I have been actively involved with the New York State DOT with meetings that several of us have attended, where we presented a wish list of items that we would like for them to incorporate into the work that they both are doing, and also work that has already been done as a result of the efforts of the GBHO. Now that they completed their study, they do have a project plan for 684, the corridor up to 84. We do have still the open items with them, such as the noise and pollution barrier that we are pursuing with them. They told us that was a possibility as long as there was a project, a roadway project where they could then incorporate that. So that is still on the radar. I had an exchange with the DOT just before they released that study, and we have ongoing dialogue. The important thing is that we are in communication with them. We know who the players are. And as an experienced town board member working with the DOT in several initiatives related to Goldens Bridge, I think we can successfully convince them to implement some of the things that we need here to make this community better and more attractive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tony. So going from Tony, let's go over on to Allison.
Okay, so the 684 corridor study is from August 2021, looks like the final study. And from my point of view, the current board has failed us. The New York State study is missing the key component to ensure the maintain the historic nature of Golden's Bridge Hamlet, with the noise barriers missing from all recommendations. It's still unclear to me how this study and final recommendations is actually going to help any Lewisboro Hamlet, considering that potentially it's going to decrease traffic during peak hours. There needs to be more pressure put on DOT to listen and deliver.
Thank you, Allison. Okay. Mary?
I would work as a member of the board to advocate for the GBH community as well as other hamlets in Lewisboro. I would try to seek out additional grants and funding for ways to preserve the historical nature and community of the hamlet, and not just within government, but perhaps with foundations as well.
Thank you. Okay. Andrea?
Good evening. I think when dealing with the New York State Department of Transportation, persistence and consistency is very, very important, and it must be remembered, because basically you have to be a nag. And that's just the way it works. As far as the sound barrier is concerned, they've been talking about this for years, and we've seen no progress, we've seen no comment, and they just keep kicking the can down the road. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. The sound barrier needs to happen, the pollution barrier needs to happen. Also, the exit 6A, how dangerous is that? We're adding a new community up on the hill there, and we have bad traffic patterns there. They've done traffic studies in relation to the affordable housing project that's going in there, and they failed. So we need to hope and push the New York State Department of Transportation to deal with that issue as well, and incorporate it into what their plans are to expand and finish this corridor on 684.
Jane, thank you. And Bill?
Andrea.
Oh. Andrea.
Jane red hair, Andrea. Okay.
So my faux pas, I apologize.
No problem.
Oh,
Bill?
sorry.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Bill?
I
Oh,
believe it's my turn.
Oh,
now?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you were looking at me, so I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, I'm sorry, Jane. I apologize.
I'm
Jane,
just clarifying,
yes.
so
Yeah,
it's
no,
my
you-
turn.
no, Jane, it is your turn.
Okay,
That was my fault.
I don't want to speak out of turn.
No, no, not at all.
Okay. So I have to say that I wasn't expecting this 684 question. It seems like other people may have been prepared for the question, but I am prepared to answer it. And so this initiative, this study of the 684 corridor, we participated in the study, and it's an initiative that's designed to decrease traffic and to increase pedestrian access, and in those two ways, we'll be able to mitigate the traffic. Creating like a ribbon or a northbound access here on 6 is going to eventually help to decrease the traffic, and then whatever we can do to prepare, whether it's crosswalks or lights or something like that. And then when it comes to persistence and consistency and the DOT, you have your man sitting right here at the head of the blue table. He has been consistent, persistent. Those are qualities I can easily, generously give to Tony.
Jane, thank you.
Thank you.
Bill?
Okay, being consistent and persistent, Jane and Tony have been on this town board for 4 years. Do we have a noise barrier out there? No. Do we have a pollution barrier? No. We need a CEO to run this town, to be firm and to get things done. And that means going to the DOT and sitting down with them and saying, look, we're not going to put up with this anymore. We've been talking about this for years. Let's stop talking. Let's get things done. I think people in Golden's Bridge have been treated like the stepchild for too long. It has to be incorporated into the town. You have to make things as good as you can with having 684 here and a train station. But we can do that. But you have to be tough and you have to be firm with the DOT. And you have to have results. They don't have results. After 4 years, Tony and Jane don't have the results. Tony was on the GBHO. He lives in Golden's Bridge for 25 years. If he can't get it done and he lives here, that's a problem. I'm going to get it done, and I don't live over in Vista because we need the town to come together. Golden's Bridge needs to get the attention it needs. Cross River needs to get the attention it needs. All the hamlets need to get the attention that they need, and we need to come together as a community. That's why I'm already working on a community center in the center of town, because we need the 6 hamlets to come together. People in Golden's Bridge never get to meet the people in Vista. That's a problem. We need to come to the middle so everybody knows each other, and we're Lewisboro. We're not just Golden's Bridge or Vista or Cross River. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next question. This will be start off by the order will be Allison, Mary, and then
Are
Andrea.
you giving anybody a chance to
Oh, we didn't even
or
discuss
not?
that. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't even bring up we had discussed the 30-second rebuttal. Okay. Would anyone like to rebuttal? It would be a general 30-second rebuttal from one person from each table. Okay, Tony, so you have 30 seconds?
Sure, yeah. So regarding the DOT study, you're right. The talk about noise barriers has been going on for a while. The first time I attended a DOT meeting was with 2 members of the prior board who are no longer on the board. Nothing got accomplished. It wasn't until the GBHO actually presented with the DOT with facts that they are now considering as part of this study to do some of the things that we requested. They've already done some of the pedestrian safety. They've actually visited us just before the pandemic started in early 2020 to discuss sidewalks and crosswalks in the area, and we've been talking to the MTA as well with incorporating that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Republicans? You have 30 seconds?
Anybody can.
To any point brought up at all?
You want me to do it?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, so sidewalks and bike lanes. Are they out there? No. You can see down to the tracks over the overpass, right? We got serious problems in Golden's Bridge. They're not getting addressed, right? They've been talking about sidewalks and bike lanes forever, just like they've been talking about the barriers for the noise and the pollution. Let's get it done. Let's stop talking. I've run my own business for 17 years. You need to get results.
Bill, thank you. Okay. On to our next question. Sorry to jump the gun there. Allison, you'll be starting off. Mary, Andrea, Jane, Bill, and then Tony. Okay, so the next question is, with the affordable housing just a bit away from us, what support do you envision for the board to address in the months leading up to its conclusion? Please give some examples. Again, I'll say it. With the affordable housing just a bit away from us, what support do you envision from the board at its conclusion? Please give some examples. So we're going to start with Allison.
Okay, so this is the Wild Beta property that's being
Yes,
done
the
on
Wild-
Route 22. And so, right now, the board has approved, I think, 42 units to be installed there, and they've broken ground, and they're continuing to do their work. And I believe they're saying that it's April 2022, the first few units will be available. And I think we have to do everything we can, since this project has already been approved and is going through, to make sure that we get those units filled and that we have the people that want to live there access to whatever they need, whether that be the shopping center or, maybe it's a taxi service that we figure out, maybe it's some kind of shuttle bus service. There's lots of different options for ways we can help the residents once they move in there. But we really just need to focus on the fact that it's going to be here and how we can help get those units rented and populated. I know we have one other unit in Golden's Bridge that they're having difficulty renting for various different reasons, so it would be nice to see those units not go unused.
Allison, thank you. Mary?
As far as the support that's needed, we want to make sure that we would provide educational workshops on the resources available through town. And we would also want to make sure that, I think the shuttle idea that Allison talked about is really great. Maybe we could work with the DOT to make something go all the way through town. And then work with perhaps having the library come up and do sessions up here as far as the different services that they provide, as far as resume workshops or job searches and things like that.
Mary, thank you. Andrea?
You can stay seated.
Oh, okay.
Some of the things have already been covered, but there's some other considerations that I think we need to think about, and that, number one, are the children. There will be children living up there. It's a very dangerous road, and we can expect that the children and the young adults are gonna be wanting to walk up 22 to the shopping center, because that's what kids do. They get pizza, they go to Subway, etc. So we need to provide some sort of safety assurance for them when they're walking, or some sort of alternative to them, for them to get from the development up to the shopping center and the train station and back. I think it's very important. I think we're gonna have to try to put some pressure on the school district with regard to the bus, because last I heard, the bus was not going up the hill to the development, but rather the children were coming down the hill to Route 22 to catch the bus. I don't know if 100% that that's still the case, but I think that's something that we need to address with the school district. I think the other thing that we need to do is be open, willing, and ready to welcome our new residents. And I think the opening of a community center, or at the very least, a satellite town office, where those who may not have the same transportation as everyone in town can access the town office building and sign up for Parks and Rec and things like that. And so I think we need something like that in Goldens Bridge.
Andrea, thank you. Jane? And again, I'm sorry, I'm not cutting into your time. If we could all just make sure that we speak up. Thank you. All right, sorry.
Okay,
Thank you, Jane.
No problem. Okay, thank you. So I'm not sure that I entirely understand the question, but if I do, I think that we would offer some of the same services that we offer to all of our new residents in town. All residents are invited to a new neighbor network hosted by the Department of Parks and Rec, and that's usually their first point of contact with the town. And so then from there, they start to build connections and bridge connections. I would make sure that all information that was made available to new families townwide, and certainly including our Wild or Walter residents, is provided in English and Spanish, and then also any other language that may be apparent or may be requested. Transportation's a great idea. I'm loving the support I'm hearing for transportation for Wild or Walter residents from our Republican candidates. I hope that support keeps up, whether they would win or not. Pressure on the school system, pressure on DOT. It just goes to show what lack of experience gives you, because you don't come into a job like this, small potato here, and pressure. Nobody responsible to it, not our employees, not DOT, not the school. Also, a satellite office here in town, it's really very complicated. We did used to have the Parks and Rec over in that community house. We had the Katona Art Center there. We worked alongside advocates who wanted the Katona Art Center out, right? So that building's been through many, many uses. It is a good thing that we'll have connectivity up there. They can sign up for town stuff online. And our phones also work.
Jane, thank you. Bill?
It would have been much better to incorporate the affordable housing into the town, into Goldens Bridge, rather than have it be separate over there. But that's the way it is. It's not really walkable on a very nice day. It's going to take a while. I can't imagine in winter people walking from there to the shopping center or walking to the train station. It's really not good, especially kids. It's dangerous. There has to be some kind of thought given to that, to a shuttle, incorporating the people that are there into town. I could tell you, going around town for the last year, talking to people want community in this town. They want to get together. They want to have events. We have to have welcoming events, and we have to incorporate the people that are going to be over there, because it is almost its own island, into Goldens Bridge. And that's having community events, that's having a shuttle, that's having whatever we can do to welcome them to the community is important.
Thank you, Bill. And Tony?
So John, I'll answer your question that you actually asked. What can the town board do? So we can actually promote the development. We did that just at the last town board meeting with the rental property that's over at the owner-occupied rental property that's at Old Goldens Bridge. We have 2 applicants that are interested as a result of that. So we could do much more to assist in populating the 42 units that will be built Yes, I think transportation for those that need it. Obviously, people living there are going to have cars, so they're not going to need to walk. But if there are people that would like to have a shuttle or get on a bus, one of the ideas is bring the Beeline bus up from Katona, up Route 22, 138 to the new development in Somers, back down to Route 100 back to Katona. So that's an idea that I hope to work on with our new county legislator.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, the rebuttal, we'll start with the Republicans. It'll be 30 seconds, and then it'll be 30 seconds over to the Democrats.
The final sit. As Ms. Crimmins talked about the fact that Republicans are all about pressure, 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 because we've used that phrase to describe what needs to be done in order to get certain things accomplished. But I think what Ms. Crimmins doesn't realize is that there's different types of pressure, and that entails coming to the table with ideas and basically continuing to come to the table with new ideas when the first or second or third doesn't work, until you give the person that you're talking to the realization that there is no other alternative but to give in to a solution that makes sense.
Thank you. Democrats, 30-second rebuttal.
Can I rebut? Okay, so I just wanted to say to the Republican supervisor candidate's remarks that I actually found pleasantly surprised to find some common ground and agreement, because I agree that housing stock needs to blend in all over town, but not just in Golden's Bridge either. He had said just in Golden's Bridge, it needs to be all over town, evenly dispersed. Also, I'm really happy to hear about the welcoming events, and there might be a need for that here, or an interest in GBHO, from the GBHO, because community events like Pride and Juneteenth happen to be a strength of mine.
Thank you. Thank you, both sides. Okay, moving on to the next question. Mary, you're going to end up starting this one off, and then Andrea, you'll follow second. This one's a wide open one. Which improvements, in your opinion, does Golden's Bridge need? Again, so the question is, which improvements in your opinion, does Golden's Bridge need? So we'll start off with Mary.
Well, having visited many neighbors in Golden's Bridge up here over the last year or so, I've found that there is already a strong sense of community, and I've been warmly welcomed. And I appreciate that welcome. I would work, being the daughter and granddaughter and great-granddaughter of small business owners, I'd try to start with an entrepreneur workshop that would feature local business owners and the services that they could provide, like PR firms, accountants, lawyers, and even contractors, helping people get their own businesses off the ground. So it would advertise businesses here in Golden's Bridge that already exist, and possibly create new businesses that would fill a business formerly known as a video store.
Mary, thank you.
My goals for Golden Bridge are to find ways to keep you connected with the rest of Lewisboro and strengthen our bonds as a community as a whole, as well as helping Golden's Bridge thrive as one of Lewisboro's Hamlet centers. There needs to be a way to come up with bringing more business into the Golden's Bridge shopping center from 684. What would be a good draw? What would be a good way to bring the commuters who only park either on the west side of the tracks or in the commuter lot into the shopping center? I think we have to look towards maybe bringing in a newer supermarket. It's always nice to have a DeChico's or a Stop and Shop or something that would draw them in. In addition, I think that we have to be able to connect these commuter lots to the shopping center in a way that's safe and allows access from the lots for them to walk over, or make it easier for them to get over to the shopping center. I think we have to look for attractive businesses to come here. I think we need to look towards perhaps building office space, joint office space, as opposed to building apartments, as I think Mr. Parsons had recommended, joint office space where people who work from home might have a conference room or some other way to help conduct their business if they need to get out of the house and do something else. Also, I think we need to start bringing some community events over to Golden's Bridge. We've got, at Onatru, we've got fireworks, and we've got the library fair, and in South Salem, you've got the Memorial Day races and a big parade. Maybe we need to start bringing some of those things over to Fox Valley, which means we need to get to work on Fox Valley.
Thank you, Andrea. Jane?
That's a perfect transition, because the improvements that I would focus on for Golden's Bridge, I've heard a lot about the pollution and the noise, and I think that would need to be incorporated in anything that we do with the DOT, but walkability from the train station to the Colony, or up there to Fairmont, I think it's crucial. I honestly, at this point, it's about safety. There are women pushing their babies in strollers on that shoulder, that misshaped shoulder. Just coming here to get a gallon of milk from the Acme, which I don't have any issues with the Acme. I think that we have a really good private-public partnership with them, so I would not want to see Acme go anywhere. At the same time, so they're coming here, and it frightens me, and I don't want it to take grieving a death of a baby in a stroller to get some safety there. We really need it, and we've been pushing for it, and we need to really target it and move it forward, because it would be just as devastating for it to be a young immigrant who I see women walking up and down here all the time, and I assume it's for a job. And I assume they can have that job because they have access to that job because they have a train station that's walkable in distance. But they are taking their life into their hands. And I don't want to ask our residents or the people who work here and live here and play here and recreate here to take their life into their hands to walk from the train station to their job or from their house to get some milk.
Jane, thank you. Over to Bill.
As I said, I have a plan to bring a community center over here. It's actually a town building. We already own it. It's not going to cost us anything. I like to work with donors. I think we can get them to move it and have a community center here. I think that would be awesome. We would keep people here, do things in Golden's Bridge, keep the money here, and attract people from other parts of town, from Lewisboro and surrounding towns. We've got a big problem, though. If we want to move it to Fox Valley is in terrible shape. The bathrooms are terrible, and maybe this could replace the bathrooms, because the building I'm thinking of has bathrooms already. The fields are in terrible shape. The picnic tables have spikes coming out of them. The soda machines are broken. There's electrical wires hanging out. I mean, we have dangerous situations going on from Onatru to Fox Valley. I focused on Fox Valley now. I'm already working on the Lewisboro Town Park, which affects Golden's Bridge, because we want our kids who are going to play Lewisboro Baseball Association games to have safe places to play. And the Lewisboro Town Park, it's not safe. Now, I did a video showing the retaining wall was failing, okay? This blew up on Facebook. This is how things get done in this town. If people blow up on Facebook, then it gets the attention that it deserves. That's not the way to run a town. The way to run a town is to have a plan and understand how you're going to fund these things down the road, okay? Now, Tony's trying to make these quick fixes before the election, and they're not being done correctly.
Thank you, Bill. Tony?
So again, to your question, John, so Golden's Bridge, what we need here is to create a destination. It's a very, very valuable location with proximity to the train, to the highway. I have been working with the actual owner of this shopping center who lives up in Canada, as well as the property managers, including the prior property manager and the new property manager, and those conversations have actually gained additional importance to the new property manager. So we are, and as a result of our brainstorming session, they actually came up with a new design for the shopping center, which is going to be a mixed-use development. And we are actually, I initiated a connection into DOT regarding the adjacent property. We actually have a meeting with them tomorrow morning, the property manager, myself, and the representative with DOT. And the plan is to potentially expand the shopping center into the property just south of here on Route 22. And again, the goal is to create a Hamlet center and a destination that families can come to, events can be held in, and we can actually have a walkable commuting. Again, back to the sidewalks. I have a grant through Senator Schumer's office for $4.2 million for sidewalks. And that's going to come out of the budgets that are currently being discussed in Washington. So hopefully with that money, we would be in a position to do some of the projects that we discussed with DOT, including sidewalks around this area, crosswalks so people can safely get to the train station and to the shopping center and the parking lots.
Tony, thank you.
You're welcome.
Allison?
Yes. So I agree, small business is definitely a need, as is accessibility, the roads to be cleaned up, the parks to be cleaned up. But what people don't talk about in Golden's Bridge is that clean water is not just an issue in Vista, it's also an issue here. It's just not owned by the town, so it's not a water district that the town really has control over. But what the town does have control over is the salinity and the salt that we use on our roads. It's getting into all the waters, not just in Golden's Bridge, but everywhere. But I know it's affected some of the residents greatly in Golden's Bridge. So the way the town and the board could work better would be with the highway superintendent in order to use eco-friendly de-icing agents that we can get at cost, or environmentally preferable products purchasing program, and require green procurement and spreading these environments, it's de-icing agents throughout instead of the salt that's leaking into all of our water and causing it to not be clean for wells as well as municipal water districts and town water districts.
Allison, thank you. Okay, 30-second rebuttal, starting with the Democrats, and then we'll be over to the Republicans. It's optional if you want, both sides.
Yeah, I could, just just a couple of points. So the community center, that seems to be a big thing for Bill. Be glad if you can help in bringing that in. I think the Hamlet Center here, we can create that space, so maybe it should be located here. We should maybe discuss it with the new property manager. Just a word on the traffic point that came up as a result of the affordable housing. Did you know that when IBM was employed people here on Route 138, we had about 3,000 cars that were coming through here every day. That's gone. So yes, there is traffic. The DOT study will address the existing traffic, but I just want to make that point. Thank you.
Okay. Democrats, thank you. Republicans, 30 seconds.
Want me to take it, John?
Okay.
That property that Tony's referring to behind the shopping center was actually owned by the town, and then it was sold to the DOT, and now they're trying to fight to get it back. This is what I'm talking about. We need to manage the town's assets properly, okay? I want to reposition the town's assets. I want to restructure the way we're doing things with the government and the town board meetings. There's money in the budget to be able to do different things, have a full-time grant writer. What we need to be doing is we need to bring in all the money we can into this town. That's grants, that's federal, state, local money. That's what we need to be bringing into the town, and think about the future and think about planning.
Thank you, Bill.
John, can I just clarify one point since my
hard when they're not.
since my name was mentioned? Can I clarify one point that was incorrect?
You can, in the next rebuttal.
Okay.
Okay,
Next
so
rebuttal.
just so we can just move it along.
Okay.
So if you want to hold that off, you can bring it into the next rebuttal. Okay. So the next question, Andrew, you're going to start off, then Jane, and then Bill, Tony, Allison, and then Mary. So starting off with Andrea. This one comes from an email. Why is it that this part of town, Golden's Bridge, which is a major crossroads, does not have an electric vehicle charging station where the other parts of town will be receiving electric charging stations? There is a town-owned piece of property within 4 miles of 684 on Route 138. So we're going to start off with Andrea.
That's a very good question, and it was one of the things that was plaguing my mind when I was at the town board meeting, listening to where they were proposing the placement of these charging stations. And it's very interesting that Golden's Bridge, which is the only place in town that has commuter parking lots because of the train station, it wasn't proposed that they would have these charging stations here. I think that the only people that can answer the question are the members on the town board, because I have no idea why it wasn't proposed that they put them either in the shopping center or close to the school or at Fox Valley, or, you know, there is property that the town owns here, or maybe in collaboration with Metro North. So I wish I had an answer, and hopefully I'll be able to help get one.
Thank you, Andrea. Jane?
Yes, so according to the most recent news from the supervisor, the first 2 EV stations that are going to be installed are going to be here with a sign on 684 letting us know that they're here. So those actually were approved to be put in before these additional 16 chargers, which is why it was a little confusing when we were introducing it. But that is happening, and so that's the sought-out answer, and I'm hoping that's the preferred answer. There's also going to be a sign on 684, so it's kind of like, instead of a gas station, we're going to have these electric charging stations, and we're hoping that will incentivize people to pull on off and come to the, you know, charge your car, go to Acme, go to Sushi 22, which is a newer business here, which is a new favorite of everybody who likes sushi. So yeah, so that's the answer.
Thank you, Jane.
I hope that makes people happy.
Bill?
I would really love to see when that came up with the Goldens Bridge charging stations, because I watch all these town board meetings. I don't remember it. I don't know why it wasn't brought up when this whole grant item was brought up. But according to Dan Welsh on the last town board meeting, that grant's not coming through. They're not going to get the EV charging stations. So they kind of jumped the gun saying we're going to have all this stuff, but they're not going to have it. You know, they've been on the town board for 4 years. On their palm card, they talk about all this environmental stuff. They haven't gotten these chargers. They passed a tree ordinance that didn't make any sense. They didn't listen to the Conservation Advisory Committee and have an acreage provision. I don't know where they're getting all this environmental stuff from, because I haven't seen it in 4 years. So please enlighten me.
Okay. Bill, thank you. Tony?
Thanks, John. And I'll stick to your question specifically about EV chargers. So about a year and a half ago, and this goes to private-public partnerships, I had discussions with the private property manager about placing chargers here. We have no control over the shopping center and what they do. He started the discussions. I actually had a meeting with him together with Blink Charging, the company that we are going to be getting our charging stations from. Fast forward to this year, and the new property manager, they actually placed an order for chargers. It's going to be a bank. It's going to be more than 2, actually.
Oh, great.
Yeah. There's going to be a bank of chargers installed here at the shopping center. Last I heard, they were going to be installed before the end of the year. And as a result of discussions with DOT, they said, yes, we'll put up a sign, EV charging this exit and food, but they have to be fast charge or rapid charge stations. So that's exactly what they're putting in. So hopefully that answers the question.
Tony, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. Allison?
So everything they just said is all news to me. I never heard of any of this, so I'm glad to hear that they fixed the issue with the electric charging stations coming to Goldens Bridge. I'm glad that when we ask the right question at the right time, we get the answer we want to hear.
Allison, thank you. Mary?
As an owner of a hybrid car, I'm really excited to hear that all these chargers are going up. It's really easy to use. I don't know what more to add other than the fact that it's really important that we try to find resources for Goldens Bridge residents as well as other residents and educate people on the importance of protecting our environment.
Mary, thank you. First rebuttal is going to go to the Republicans and then to the Democrats. 30 seconds.
I don't have anything to rebut.
No rebuttal?
I'll say
Okay.
something.
That's it.
But I'll stay sitting. I think a good word to use is transparency. When we don't find out things until we push and we inquire, you can't find things on the town website because they're not there, not because, Janet Donahue doesn't put them there, but they just not given to her to put there. We need more transparency. We need to know what's going on and when it's going on. If COVID did nothing else, it made the people in town pay attention.
Thank you. Democrats, 30 seconds.
Sure. So I actually presented at a town board meeting the fact that charges were going to go in Golden's Bridge. Maybe that was a meeting that was missed, but that was discussed at a town board meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the next question. Jane, you're going to start this one off. Okay,
Okay.
all right. How will the town board ensure planning board resolutions are enforced as approved? There were two recent resolutions that impacted Golden's Bridge. One was that Wilder Bolter would agree to donate $50,000 for improvements within Golden's Bridge, as well as the Mercedes-Benz resolution, which did not call for any improvements to their well. Then after the approval went through, their well was then deepened.
Okay, so the first part is how will the town board follow through on
Yeah, how will the town
planning
board
board?
ensure planning board resolutions are enforced as approved?
How will we,
Yes, so the general question is.
I understand,
Yeah.
how will we enforce
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much the legislation that's passed? Yeah, enforcement's an issue,
Yeah.
that's for sure. So, I think the process for that is that the planning board passes the resolution and the expectations are set. And then if those expectations are not being met, it is incumbent upon the individual who observes that to contact the town and let us know, and we take it from there.
Jane, thank you. Bill?
I think that we have to make sure across the board that everybody does what they say they're going to do. I mean, this Wilder $50,000, where is that money? I mean, the last I heard, I saw on social media, I think it was Councilman Sclaren saying they're going to get 15,000 of it. Well, this has been promised for a long time. I mean, where is this $50,000? What is it going to go to? I mean, this goes to accountability. The town board should be accountable. They should hold the planning board accountable. I mean, we have different entities in town. That's why we have checks and balances, right? That's the role of government. You have to make sure that things get done that are supposed to get done, that legislation that gets passed is going to be enforced, that codes are going to be enforced. I'd love to know from our Democratic friends here, what is happening with that $50,000, please.
Bill, thank you. Tony?
Sure. So the planning board resolution, obviously, we don't have a say over what's passed at the time, but I agree that whatever is in resolution should be adhered to. Regarding Wilder Bolter, it was not actually in reading the resolution, it was not a commitment to provide $50,000, but they did. We just received a check for $15,000, and the remainder of that money is still going to be provided, we believe. Again, no commitment, but in my discussion with Wilder Bolter, John Bailardi, there is as the project evolves, we should be seeing some additional payments. So it's not, there was a misquote in the paper about that, and it should be, so I think we should be okay with that. On the Mercedes issue, yes, the well, I'm familiar with the well issue where they had to go deeper in order to get the flow rate that they need. So I found out about that through a neighbor. I got involved, and we have a resolution that's going to help that neighbor. So that's your town board getting involved.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Allison?
I have to ask you to repeat that question. because
Sure.
I think they kind of all had different
Okay.
misunderstandings of it. 'cause
Not
they
a problem at
answered
all.
quite differently.
And board members, please
I'm
ask
sorry.
for me to, no, not all. Board members, please ask. That's my job. How will the town board ensure planning board resolutions are enforced as approved?
Okay. That's the whole question?
Well, there were two recent resolutions in Golden's Bridge. One was that Wilder Bolter agreed to donate $50,000 for improvements in Golden's Bridge, as well as Mercedes-Benz not needing as part of the resolution, they did not need to they stated that they did not need to deepen their wells, but after the resolution was approved, they ended up deepening their wells.
Okay. So I guess there should be some kind of process in place, and I'm a little disappointed to hear that there isn't for how we're enforcing the planning board resolutions, because the planning board is doing things that are really key to, our community in all areas, especially in Golden's Bridge with the businesses you have here. So I'll have to look into how these resolutions are supposed to be enforced and which department it's supposed to be doing it, whether it's the town board or the building department or a combination of thereof. As far as the Wild Walter $50,000, my reading of the planning board resolution is that that was money that they may or may not give. So I think it's great that we got the 15K, but we should definitely keep pushing for the 35,000. So hopefully that comes in. I don't know or have an understanding of where it's going, but I'm assuming at some point we'll be told by the town board.
Allison, thank you. Mary?
That enforcement should be done as it is written in the code of the town. And if it's not being done, then there should be a review and remedies should be taken. I believe that our town as a whole is a good town, and that if we all work together as a community to look out for each other and get the job done.
Mary, thank you. Andrea?
So 2 of our advisory boards in town have independent decision-making abilities. One of them is the planning board and one of them is the zoning board of appeals. They make decisions, and if there's a problem with those decisions, then the applicants and or interested individuals have a process that they follow where they can appeal those decisions by Article of 78 or otherwise. However, when decisions of the planning board involve agreements between the town and third parties, I believe that it's up to the town board to also get involved in ensuring that those third parties fulfill their obligations. The $50,000 was one of many versions of this proposed affordable housing project that was waived as a carrot to the residents to try to get the residents to go along with the approval of the project. It's very sad that when Wilder Walter responds to why they may not be able to give that money over, that they point to the residents and their ability to file an Article 78 to try to appeal a decision made by the planning board and say, well, you know what, it's the residents' fault that they're not getting the money now.
Andrea, thank you. Democrats, you have 30 seconds to rebuttal, and then we'll go to Republicans.
I have to agree with Andrea that some of the pieces of the affordable housing and the way that project moved forward and came forward is kind of sad. And the first thing we missed out on was $500,000 from the county. There's been pushback on developing accessible and affordable housing in town in every direction that it's tried to be built. So I'm really glad to hear the support for it, but one of the reasons the project has ended up the way that it has with some of the complications that come with it is because of the stall tactics of people who don't want affordable housing in town.
Republicans, you have 30 seconds.
I don't think that it's fair to say that there are residents in town that don't want affordable housing. I think it's fair to say that there's residents in town that did not want this particular affordable housing project, which is 40 some odd units of rental apartments that will be separate and apart from the rest of the community on a hill. That took out a great deal of land and foliage and wildlife. And my understanding is that they had to dig deeper and deeper and deeper because they couldn't find a substantial base upon which to pour a foundation. So it ended up being even more extensive than originally anticipated.
Those plans were brought
Thank
to you
you.
by the
Okay.
previous Republican
All right,
town board.
so we're going to move on now? All right, so the next question, Bill, you're going to start off with, and then Tony. Okay. It's understood that some lakes in town are designated to receive LWRP funds. Timberlake and Golden's Bridge Colony does not appear to be on this list. Why or why not, and should we be considering this funding? So again, I'll read this over again. It is understood that some lakes in the town are designated to receive LWRP funds. Timberlake and Golden's Bridge Colony does not appear on the list. Why or why not, and should we be considering this funding? So, Bill, you're starting off.
Okay, so LWRP is Local Waterfront Revitalization Plan. It was passed in 2017. It was sponsored by Senator Terrence Murphy. It was 6 lakes were designated at the time. Oskalita, Truesdale, Kitchewan, Wacabuck, and I'm leaving out a couple, but those are the 6 lakes. Now, do we want to get more lakes involved? Do we want to get the quality of other lakes better? Yes. This is a program that allows for monies to fix the health of our lakes. There's been some back and forth whether it matters if it's public or private. It doesn't matter if it's a public or private lake. We have private lakes in town. People own houses around them. This is the big problem. The septics are leaking. They're outdated, okay? So we have very high phosphorus levels in our town lakes. It needs to be addressed because it causes blue-green algae to grow. It chokes off the oxygen in the lakes. Andrea and I have gone and talked to people who live around the lakes. We talked to one gentleman. He said they had 100 fish die during the summer. The aerators have been taken out. So we have a lot of serious issues that need to be addressed with our lakes, and we should think about adding other lakes if we can.
Thank you, Bill. Tony?
Yeah, so the local waterfront revitalization is actually suited for public lakes. All our lakes are private. And before you are able to fix the problem, you have to identify how to fix the problem. And that's exactly what Supervisor Parsons, through his being involved with the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation and in discussions with New York State DEC and New York City DEP, was successful in getting an engineering study grant that is paying to determine what needs to be done to reduce the phosphorus on the lakes. Principally Wacabuck, Kitchewan, Truesdale, and the other 2 that are being looked at to be added to the list is Lake Oskalita and Lake Rippowan.
Tony, thank you.
You're welcome.
Allison?
Okay, so to go back to the original question, which is, I think, the Timber Lake in Golden's Bridge. I think there's another lake in Golden's Bridge as well that I'm drawing a blank on the name, but neither of them have been included in either the LWRP or the engineering study, that grant that Tony is referring to, nor does that engineering study grant actually going to pay for how the lakes need to be fixed. That's going to have to be determined at a later date. But I believe that all lakes, if possible, should in our community should have access to this and any money that's available from the county, state, or federal through grants or low interest or free loans. And it's my understanding that LWP is not only for public lakes, it's for private, and that's how Truesdale and Kitchewan and Oskalita and them have been included in that study.
Allison, thank you. Mary?
I think that whatever lakes in our community, we should advocate for them to be included. And if they are allowed to be included, if it's the state that determines that the lakes are on the list, then we should advocate for our lakes to be included. The importance of our environment to be safe and clean is essential, not only to the people who live around the lakes, but the rest of us as well, because it's all connected. And algae and phosphorus are indeed problems, and it's not just for the people who live on the lakes, but for all of us.
Mary, thank you. Andrea?
I've done extensive research in this, not only online, but also I printed out documents, and I'm looking right now. I know that there's a memo specifically that indicates that the LWRP funding and or low interest loans can be used for private waterfront revitalization projects, as long as those inland waterways are qualified and designated as our 6 other lakes were. As long as a lake or a water body is connected through these estuaries that are listed, there's a whole list and a mapping, an application can be made to add them to the list of inland waterways that qualify for these funds. Public access is an item that can be included in an LWRP plan, but not required. It's one of a list of things that can be included when applying for funds. The whole process includes putting together a lakefront water committee who basically, in sum and substance, puts together a master plan for the lakes. And then once that is approved by the state, then any other outside agency, federal or state, that comes in that wants to do something contrary to what has been put into an LWRP is out of luck. So not only can it be used to promote our lakes, but it could also be used to preserve our lakes. And we have a lot of problems with phosphorus that are in all of our lakes. We have no problems with E. coli in one of our lakes, and they're becoming not swimmable and unhealthy.
Andrea, thank you. And Jane?
Yes, thank you. I really like this question. I want to thank whoever asked it. I think that what's interesting about this question, it's a good opportunity to see this issue and see an issue and really two different sides of it and approaches to it, and I think it helps clarify kind of our points of view. So yes, this was legislation developed by former Republican State Senator Terrence Murphy. One of the things I did when I was running for office the first time was to go and meet with Terrence Murphy, and the LWRP was something that we had spoken about. While we were grateful for having some of our lakes included, and I do think that I want to hear from the lake communities, so I want to talk to the Golden's Bridge Colony community about Timber Lake and see if we want to get it included. I think that that's certainly, we should explore all kinds of funding, and it should be a possibility for people. However, the town, and to control phosphorus, a much better way to do that is through wetlands. And so we'd rather focus on building those than doing this LWRP, which we just plain disagree on the interpretation of the law. It requires the lakes to allow public access, and its goal and its focus is economic development over retail development on your waterways. And I have yet to speak to anybody in a lake community that is interested in either one of those things. And that's our job. It's to listen to our community.
Jane, thank you. Republicans, 30 seconds.
If I may. I'd be glad to provide this to everyone here, but there is a memo from Linda Baldwin and William Sharp, to Linda Baldwin and William Sharp from Carrie Guthon. It is regarding the Executive Law, Article 42, Local Waterfront Revitalization Program criteria, and the availability of funds for local governments seeking such funding for privately owned inland water bodies. I will pass that around to everyone and make it available, but again, it is available. And I would like to say that when I approached our Supervisor Parsons and asked him why the LWRP process wasn't used in the town of Lewisboro, he told me that he felt that it was easier just to do it the way that he was doing it, that the LWRP process was just too difficult.
Republicans, thank you. Democrats, 30 seconds.
I mean, don't hold me responsible for the sins of the father.
So 30 seconds. So yeah, so just getting back to Timber Lake, my understanding is the issue, if any, here with this lake is the dredging, which was done some years back, and there's probably some local colony folks who probably know more about that than I do. But if anything, it will probably need to be dredged again. It doesn't have the phosphorus issue like the other lakes because there's very little development near Timber Lake. Lakes like Wacabuck, you have a dense, especially on the eastern side, where you have phosphorus because of the septics.
Okay. Board members, we're going to roll the responses to a minute, if that's agreeable to both sides. Just to, okay.
Most of you
Yeah.
are
Yeah, are within
keeping
a
at
minute.
just about a minute anyway,
Okay.
so
Sure.
great. That's
Is
okay.
that's okay? Okay.
The more efficient, the better.
Okay. All right. Next question. Tony, you're going to start this one off, and then Allison. Okay. This one's an open-ended question. What do you see as the most important issue for Golden's Bridge residents today, and how do you propose to address it? So again, the question, what do you see as the most important issue for Golden's Bridge residents today, and how do you propose to address it? So Tony, you're going to start. 1 minute.
Yeah, I think the most important issue I feel is creating a sense of community within Golden's Bridge and creating a Hamlet Center, which I think we're lacking. To a certain degree we have it, but it's not where it should be. So with the discussions I've been having with our property manager, that is the end goal is to, in fact, they're probably going to rename this shopping center the Goldensbridge Hamlet Center. So it's going to be, again, mixed use. I think we need that. It's going to be a destination not only for folks in Goldensbridge, but folks from other surrounding communities and other hamlets in town. And I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. Tony, thank you. Allison?
So I don't know if you can really narrow it down to just one issue. There's a lot of issues in this hamlet, so I'll try to combine the bunch of them. But I think that part of it is that, you know, we don't really have a chamber of commerce in Lewisboro, and certainly not within Goldensbridge, and I think that's because we have one of the lowest commercial tax bases in the county, which is why some of our property taxes are so high. Businesses haven't looked here because the master plan is very old, and I know they're in the process of redoing that finally, but it's not there yet. So we could attract more businesses with potentially like reducing permits and fees, expediting generic environmental impact statements with a float zone. All these things would also help get us back to a better tax base, maybe help us clean up the water like I talked about before. And the community that everyone's talking about, I think Goldensbridge has a great community. I think we just need to incorporate the other hamlets to want to come here and visit.
Allison, thank you. Mary?
Could you read the question again, please?
What do you see as the most important issue for Goldensbridge residents today, and how do you propose to address it?
It is hard to limit it to one. I had already mentioned the business idea of fostering greater community or fostering greater sense of business opportunities here in Goldensbridge. But I think that another thing is to make government accessible and understandable to everybody, to have workshops up here in Goldensbridge so people can better understand how the government works and how we can actively participate in it. I think a lot of people from other hamlets do come to Goldensbridge, and quite gladly. I know I personally have attended many lacrosse and t-ball games in Fox Valley and visited friends and gone on play dates, so to speak, as a mother of 2 children who have gone through the school district. So, thank you.
Mary, thank you. Andrea?
I think one thing that I've heard again and again in talking to residents as I've been going throughout the Goldensbridge Hamlet is that they feel that as a result of 684 being here and as a result of the train station being here, that everything that has to be done in Lewisboro gets done in Goldensbridge. If there's going to be affordable housing, this is where it's going. If there's going to be a business district, this is where it's going. And I think that in looking to our master plan, I don't necessarily think that we have to redo the entire master plan, but I think we do need to look to revision. And I think that we shouldn't change zoning before the revised master plan is completed. And I think that if you go to our current master plan, you'll see there's numerous references in the master plan to keeping low-density residential character of Lewisboro as key, preserving stream corridors, wetlands, stone walls, fences, trees, tree lines, fields, etc. It also, on page 90, in reference to the portion of Goldensbridge on the 684 side, it said no presently non-commercial property should be permitted to convert to a commercial use. And there's a few other provisions that discuss that have been violated.
Thank you, Andrea. Jane?
Yes, so there's a little bit of a conflict as to whether housing, is it always going here, or should it be going here, or should it be going all over town? Nonetheless, Goldensbridge is an MTA train station, so I want you to think of a train station that around it that's not a hub of development. I mean, of course. So let's do it smartly. Let's do it hand in hand with the GBHO and other citizens of Goldensbridge. And that's what makes sense to me. And then yes, there's a lot of issues. If you think there's a lot of issues just in Goldensbridge and it's hard to prioritize, wait until you're looking at all the issues that confront the entire town. And you're looking at town-wide initiatives. So it's imperative that you learn how to prioritize. And you should be able to do that as a business owner and, you know, in other roles that we've heard mentioned tonight, but you have to prioritize. So I will repeat that the most important issue is walkability to and from that train station. And the way we're going to get it done is focus on it. And so after the playground and the trail, the next focus is the Cross River and the Golden's Bridge walkability, hand in hand with our pedestrian advisory committee.
Jane, thank you. And Bill?
Okay, Jane brings up priorities. There was a $100,000 grant that was supposed to go to fix the Lewisboro baseball field. She diverted half of it to start a new ADA trail, okay? I've met with the Lewisboro Land Trust, okay? We've already got an ADA trail. Tony's son, an Eagle Scout, built it. They did a study a few years ago. Who uses it? 2 people, okay? Talk about priorities, okay? That's not a priority. Our town's falling apart, okay? Fox Valley is falling apart, as I mentioned earlier. The fields, the buildings, the parking lot. It's great that Tony paved that little bit in the front where there were craters, okay? But what are you going to do about the rest of the parking lot? There's a huge crevice in there, okay? You could lose people in this thing. I mean, the whole thing has to be paved, okay? So overall, Golden's Bridge, got to do better overall with everything. That means Chamber of Commerce, that means bringing businesses here. If we can get that DOT property and we can get some, like a WeWork situation, there's so many things that we can do that we're not doing.
Bill, thank you. Okay, Democrats, 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Yep.
Tony didn't pave that. A construction company did. Thank you. And then the funds that were diverted, the 100K that was diverted from, it's painful. It's just really painful to hear this for the second time because I had to listen to it at a candidate forum too to say we already have an ADA trail in town. As if, first of all, it's not the same trail, it's not the same kind of trail, it's not the same material, it's not the same movability, and then it's painful to listen to people say that people with disabilities should have one choice, and one choice in our town is enough. It's too much, sorry. Go ahead.
30 seconds?
Yeah,
That's what I have to say.
it's interesting that she diverted money to an ADA trail without even consulting with our Disability Advisory Committee. I mean, you talk about insulting. You didn't even ask people who were disabled what they wanted. You talk about insulting? I can't think of anything more insulting. Maybe they wanted some kind of ADA access at another town park. Maybe they wanted something else, but we won't know because nobody asked them. How insulting is that?
That's a lie.
30.
It's hard when it's a lie. It's hard though when it's a lie.
I spoke to them today.
Let's keep it, folks, let's keep it civil because we all need to keep it civil. Thank you. Yes.
I absolutely did.
Again, if we can keep it, if we can, ladies and gentlemen, let's all please keep it civil, okay? Okay. So, the next question, Allison, you're going to start off, and then Mary. Okay. So, again, if you need the question repeated, I'll be more than happy to do so. Our northerly neighbors in North Salem, as well as our neighbors in Newcastle, each have or will have separate subsections of their master plans dedicated to specific hamlets and their needs. Do you see this for Golden's Bridge, and how will you require this committee, the planning committee, to implement a subsection dedicated to this hamlet?
So it's a great question, and I don't think it should just be dedicated just to Golden's Bridge. I think each hamlet should have its own section because there's uniqueness and beauty to each of the hamlets, and that's why people choose to live in them. So my understanding is from seeing the steering committee meetings and the work they've been doing with the RFP to obtain a professional consultant to come in and really do it, is that there's going to be a subcommittee where representatives from each hamlet is going to be involved in the full master plan. So there will be representatives from each hamlet that make sure that their needs and their quality of life that they want to continue in their hamlet is incorporated into that master plan.
Okay, thank you. Mary?
I agree with everything that Allison has said so far. And then there's also the survey that's on the homepage of lewisborogov.com, where everyone has the right and hopefully the obligation to share their own perspectives. So each resident of Golden's Bridge should let their own opinion be known as to the priorities of the future of Lewisboro and its comprehensive plan. I believe that every hamlet should have its voice heard, because with each diverse opinion, we have a stronger rate of diversity and a richer experience as the town of Lewisboro.
Mary, thank you. Andrea?
Our current master plan from 1984 is broken down by section and by hamlet and addresses particular issues and particular goals for each individual hamlet. And I think that when we look at that, we should use that as a basis moving forward and to incorporate new ideas from each hamlet, which again, as Allison has said, it sounds like that their plan is to have little mini committees from each one of the hamlets incorporated in. I think that's a good idea. And I think that the bigger issue is whether or not the town board that's in control plans on following the master plan, because our current town board has not followed the one that's in place currently.
Andrea, thank you. Jane?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Our northerly neighbors in North Salem, as well as our neighbors in Newcastle, each have or will have separate subsections of their master plan dedicated to specific hamlets. Do you see this for Golden's Bridge? And how will you require the planning committee to implement a subsection dedicated to our hamlet?
Got it. Okay. So I'm the liaison to the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. So the approach, right now, there's an RFP out to hire a consultant. Now, the consultant is going to be in charge of helping to gather and collate a lot of the community feedback. And we had this conversation at the town board meeting the other day, and we talked about Hamlet's first town-wide vision. It was a very rich discussion that we had at the town board. And I think that the way we're moving forward is to think of this as a town-wide master plan, and as the buckets start to come down, as we get further and further along the process, develop as the community wants. We very much anticipate that that'll be a Hamlet centered activity, but I don't want to say that, because the master plan, we are not requiring or deputizing our committee to do anything. They are out to get as much input from the community as possible. My hunch in knowing Lewisboro is that we'll wind up looking at the hamlets very specifically, because I think people identify with them strongly.
Jane, thank you.
Thank you.
Bill?
I think it's clear from this discussion that we need to be focused hamlet by hamlet, right? Golden's Bridge is so different from other hamlets. So you have to have a plan for each hamlet. But also, importantly, you have to connect them all. That's why I was talking about, and I'm already working on a deal for a community center in the center of town, because we need to be connected. We have 35 that runs so long and 138. The thing is, I'm concerned, as Andrea referenced. I mean, we have this town board. I don't want them in charge of a master plan. The town's falling apart. Go to Onatru, there's holes in the buildings. I mean, there's rotted wood. Fox Valley, I've mentioned, is in terrible shape. The Lewisboro Town Park, Tony's doing quick fixes there on the retaining wall. It's the wrong material, okay, it's already shifted. I don't know what happened to that $200,000 that was going to go to the new playground over at Onatru. So they were going to spend $300,000 on borrowed money for a new playground. They're going to spend $100,000 to fix it instead. Where's the other $200,000 going? I'd like to know,
Bill.
Tony.
Bill, thank you. Tony?
So to quick answer to Bill's question, if you watched our town board meeting two meetings ago, I actually presented a spreadsheet on where all that money's going, both from the grants and from the bond resolution that we passed earlier in the year. And I can send you the spreadsheet. Just a couple of points regarding I think Hamlet input is important. And early on, before we even had the steering committee, the town board did recommend having Hamlet's subcommittees be created to identify what's going to be needed in the comprehensive plan from each Hamlet's perspective. I even offered the GBHO to be part of that. So that is something that's being considered.
Tony, thank you. Republicans, 30 seconds.
I don't recall that at all, but if you could send that to me, that'd be great. I asked you for a NICIC document months ago, and you were going to send it to me. I never got that, so I won't hold my breath.
It's on the website. I told you that.
Okay, gentlemen, please. Okay, Democrat, anything else, Republicans? That was under 30.
It's fine.
Okay, Democrats?
Rebuttal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll just come back to a couple of points I noted from before, and some misinformation shared by Bill. So the property back here was never owned by the town, the property just south of the shopping center. It was privately owned. They sold it to DEP, not the DOT. So I wanted to make that clear. That's the property that we're currently considering for expansion of the shopping center. Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. The question for all 6 candidates is your thoughts on increasing internet providers. So Mary, you're starting this one off. Thoughts on increasing internet providers.
As a Vista resident who has suffered through Optimum, I can totally sympathize with the need to increase the diversity of access to the internet. I would want to make sure that, one, it's consistent access, quiet access, consistent access, and also affordable access. I wouldn't want a company to come in and charge us for something that's now considered an essential service. I mean, for those people who have had to work from home, or children working while at home because of the pandemic, it's really, really, really important to have consistent, reliable, and affordable internet service.
Mary, thank you. Andrea?
The answer is yes. I think we can all agree that having to deal, especially through the pandemic, with our internet access has not been ideal. That said, just because we want it doesn't mean that we can get it. And why? First, Lewisboro is topographically challenged, as you know. So, and technology is changing on a day-to-day basis. And up until this point, most towns have franchise lease agreements with internet/cablevision providers. And a lot of the money that's made by these providers is based on what type of channels they're providing you. And as you all know, a lot of us are switching over to, Hulu and Netflix and all of that. So our need and our desire to have those additional stations is reducing, and hence the revenue is reducing. So until technology is solidified, Verizon and other providers have no desire to come in, because if they come in and they invest in what is the current status of technology, and it's going to be turning over shortly, they're going to have to come back and reinvest. So that is one of the major issues we all struggle with.
Andrea, thank you.
Sure.
Jane?
Thank you. Yes, I agree with everything that's been said so far. And Optimum is monopoly here. I mean, it's what it is. We don't have a choice, and so their service doesn't have to be good. How we go about doing that and providing for more services, I think that it's a multi-pronged approach. One is the patient dedication of going back and forth with our contact at Optimum, which Tony does as our liaison. The second is that if enough people who deal with Optimum and it being a monopoly get together, it's a class action suit. And two, to entice people to come here, we need more infrastructure for connectivity. It's the 21st century, it's not a choice. The town board's going to need to so-called bite the bullet and provide the infrastructure we need, those are hard decisions to make and hard decisions to get through.
Jane, thank you. Bill?
I think we can all agree. I mean, just traveling around different parts of town and talking to people, I mean, it's a huge issue. I've been working from home for 17 years, so I understand the challenges, but it's 17 years and we still, it's still not good. We have remote learning, we have people working from home. I'm a capitalist, I'm an entrepreneur. We should never have one company. We should always have competition. That's how you get quality, that's how you keep prices down, okay? Again, you have to be hard, you have to be creative, you have to find ways to make things happen, however it is, whether it's the next thing or however it is, reviewing the agreement. You have to make something happen, because like a lot of issues in town, we just can't continue the way we've been going. So we have to do something different. I mean, that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. So we have to do things differently.
Bill, thank you. Tony?
Yeah, so Goldensbridge is actually at an advantage as compared to other parts of town, because we do have Optimum here, and we also have Verizon Fios. some of us, not all of us. I have access to both. And unfortunately, to Andrew's point, there were franchise agreements, and in the early 90s, while the town was negotiating with Verizon to expand their fiber rollout, that process got delayed to the point where Verizon decided to stop their rollout because of the return on investment. So Optimum has improved certain parts of town with infrastructure upgrades as a result of COVID and more people working and homeschooling. And they're going to start rolling out their fiber product, which is the next generation of broadband that's going to replace their coax service. And we're hoping that Verizon, I'm talking to them about some minor expansions throughout town that's going to be able to cover some of the heavily dense residential areas.
Tony, thank you.
You're welcome.
Allison?
So, yep, I would agree. Optimum's a huge thorn in all our sides, especially when it's your only option, which it's mine. But I know there's other options out there, and like everyone else, I've been starting to think outside the box. There's small franchises that, aren't like Verizon that might be willing to come here from Connecticut and other places. There's municipal broadband that nobody seems to be talking about. I know ex-Governor Cuomo wasn't for it, but doesn't mean that we couldn't look into it or try to do it and maybe combine that with other local neighbors who have the similar issues that we do and would be willing to maybe share in the municipal broadband costs. And if I was elected, I'll do everything to ensure we're given a choice.
Okay, thank you. Democrats, 30 seconds.
I'll just add, Optimum will be coming to a future town board meeting to talk to us about their plan with their existing infrastructure and their upgrades. So stay tuned for that.
Okay. Republicans?
Just so everyone knows, I've been trying to renegotiate the franchise lease agreement with Verizon in Harrison, and I can't get anyone from Verizon on the phone. Not an attorney, not a representative. Their phone numbers have changed. I can't even tell you. They are not even interested in negotiating with the town of Harrison, which is quite different, obviously, than the town of Lewisboro. They're not topographically challenged, and a lot of the poles and everything that is required is already there. So just so that you all understand the difficulty in trying to get another franchise in. You can always add an additional franchise lease agreement. It just has to convey the same obligations to the first company as to the second company.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 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 Okay, the next question Andrea's going to start off with, and then Jane. Wild Oaks Water, which is called New York Water, has constant issues with water pressure and quality. What can you do about this? So again, Wild Oaks Water District, New York Water, has constant issues with water pressure and water quality. What can you do about this? So we'll start with Andrea.
Well aware of their water pressure issues, and it's really quite frustrating because the town of Lewisboro only runs or is responsible for one water district in town, and that's in Oak Ridge. And the town doesn't do a very good job of handling that one as it is. It's got lots of problems inherent with it. On this side of town, this water district, the town has absolutely zero control over. So the only power the town has is negotiating power, and little at that. So they have to keep at it, and they have to listen to the residents, and they have to advocate on behalf of the residents. That's really all they can do. They can't change policy, they can't do anything else, and it's very, very frustrating, and I feel very bad for the people in Wild Oaks.
Andrea, thank you. Jane?
It's going to be interesting to hear us all go through this question because Andrea just answered it plain and simple. That's it. We don't have any power. The water district it's privately owned, and so all we can do, and all that Tony does do for everybody who knows Tony, is tirelessly reach out and respond to residents, and then try, and he's over there when they're fixing, he's there at night, he's taking pictures, he's communicating with the residents, and this is all because that's all he can do. And so that's what he does do, and you need one person on the board to be doing that, otherwise it gets very confusing.
Bill?
I agree with what everybody said, and I think there's strength in numbers. So I think people in Golden Bridge that are upset about this need to get together. I mean, people come to me about different issues that are not in the purview of the supervisor or the town board, and I say to them, get together. There's strength in numbers. Form a group, make your voice heard, put the pressure on, whether it's this water issue or some other issue in Golden's Bridge that's going on. You know, you got the GBHO. You need more people involved in the GBHO, right? Grow it. Advocate for yourselves. You know, there's a lot of issues in Golden's Bridge that need to be addressed. This is just one water issue, but you know, get together and privately make this stuff happen if you can. Put the pressure on, and hopefully, you know, I think you will get somewhere. It may take some time, but you'll get somewhere.
Bill, thank you. Tony?
Yeah, so I've actually wanted to learn more about the water issue, so I have reached out to American Water, learned a little bit about it, but they were going through an acquisition, so there was a new company coming in. I think it was Independent Water Company. But yeah, it's whatever we can do as a municipality to try to persuade them to, whether it's drilling additional wells. I mean, I know there's been discussions with the Arbor Hills folks as well. It's the same company managing both water districts, about combining the two. So I'm looking to learn more about that and see what the town could potentially do. Just to touch on Wild Oaks, so we do own the sewer, right? That's a town sewer district that we own. And I do have a grant out to, again, through Senator Schumer's office for $3.8 million to address an issue that we have with the sewer, which is the infiltration and inflow, which means when there's heavy rainstorms, the sewer does hit capacity or close to capacity because of the water that's infiltrating the wastewater system.
Thank you, Tony. Allison?
I don't really have much to add except the same thing. I think Bill's right that there's strength in numbers, and when you come together and it's a large group, whether that's 30 residents, 'cause that's all there is, or 300, and you advocate for yourselves, or through an organization, then that's more power for you to get the things that you would like. And persistence is always key. Repeating yourself and being persistent is a way to get things done through these bureaucracies and corporations and red tape.
Okay. And last, Mary?
I would also add creativity to see if there's another way to work with the community and the residents to try and advocate for safe, clean water that flows as it should for the families to raise their families in a safe and thoughtful way, because it's important not only for the residents of Golden's Bridge, but all of Lewisboro.
Thank you, Mary. Republicans? 30 seconds? No? Democrats? So I think we put that issue to bed. Very nice. Okay. We have a question, this one specifically from the Golden Bridge Hamlet organization. As a densely settled hamlet with residences, businesses, and transit infrastructure, why is it that there's no active use public space within the hamlet, and please disregard the preserves on the periphery? This organization was willing to foot the bill, volunteers were at the ready, experts were eager to impart their wisdom on the proposed project at the base of Fairmount Road. The issue at present is the insurance. So, Jane,
Yes.
you'll start, and then Bill.
So, I'm sorry, can you highlight the question?
So, as a densely settled hamlet with residences, businesses, and transit infrastructure, why is it that there is no active use public space?
Got
And
it.
please disregard the preserves on the periphery.
Okay. And you were talking about the Fairmont property,
The proposed
correct?
Fairmount
And the-
project that GBHO would like to spearhead at the corner of Fairmount and Route 138.
So
It was
I-
commonly called the Stein property.
Correct. So I think that the focus is on the Fox Valley Park here in Golden's Bridge. Because as is pointed out, that park needs maintenance, improvements, and focus, and we'll be getting some playground equipment of its own. And if we have difficulty maintaining what we already have through no fault of our wonderful employees, it has to do with the shoestring budget and the amount of space that we have and how we used to rely so heavily on volunteers, and the way society is changing and people are working more, so that volunteer labor is not as readily as available as it once was. But I think the priority and the focus is on Fox Valley Park and not developing a new park space. I know that the rail trail is maybe considered on the periphery, but that happened here, and now we've really been focused on Fox Valley.
Jane, thank you.
You're
Bill?
welcome.
I think the issue, I think you're referring to the pocket park,
The proposed pocket park.
which I think you should have. I don't see the connection to Fox Valley. It's just a tiny little pocket park that's over in the side of town where you want some green space. The certificate of insurance is the issue. I don't know why it's an issue. I think the town should be able to cover it. I don't know why you need two. You need more green space. I agree, Parks and Recs does a great job. They need more resources and people. Their budget, going back, over a decade ago, was like $2.3 million, and now it's like $500,000. So, but the other thing is, this town runs on volunteers, and it runs on donations. And I can tell you, having talked to people who've donated millions of dollars to this town, they don't do it anymore because they've been treated so badly by this town government over the last 4 years. They refuse to do it, and that's a huge problem because we need donations, we need volunteers. That's what keeps this town running because we have a tiny town budget.
Bill, thank you. Tony?
Yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about, John. As you know, I'm the one that brought it up to the town board, the request to turn that property into a pocket park, which I think is a great idea. And I know we'll get over the insurance issue, and we'll have a pocket park.
Thank you, Tony. Allison?
I had the same question. I didn't really understand when there was an insurance issue. I feel like there's other projects that are run by volunteers that go on in the town, that there's no insurance issue where they need to carry their own insurance to finish their projects. So I don't know the answer. I hope Tony is correct and that at some point the board will figure a way past this and allow the GBHO to build the pocket park, because I think it would be a great addition to the community. I know I've spoken to a lot of the residents with little kids, and they'd love to be able to walk there and go there and not be in Fox Valley and not be with all the fields and the other kids, and just have a small little pocket park. And while it may only service Golden Bridge, we all have parks in different areas in our hamlets that just service us, and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be working on them or doing them.
Allison, thank you. Mary?
When I've come to speak with neighbors in Golden Bridge, I learned that the Bedford Audubon Society is excited to work on the pocket park as well. I think it's a great idea, and I think becoming one with nature is a wonderful thing. And I look forward to the insurance issue being resolved quickly as possible. I know dealing with insurance is not a pleasant thing, speaking as a private citizen, but I having volunteered with the land trust and the various places that they have, I know that it is well appreciated in every corner of Lewisboro, and Golden Bridge deserves a green space as well that all people can use.
Thank you. Andrea?
I don't think there's really much else to say. When you have a good idea, you keep working at it until it comes to fruition. And this is a good idea, and it's going to come to fruition. And hopefully they'll get over the insurance issue, and we're going to move on. And you can't, if you can't make it come to fruition, it just does exactly what we've been talking about, which is discourage other town volunteers from picking up projects and moving ahead with them. And we want to encourage volunteerism, and we want to encourage projects like this from happening. And so we can all hope that it's a good idea and it's going to come to fruition.
Thank you, Andrea. Democrats, 30 seconds.
Just to touch on since Fox Valley was brought up. So we have an issue with the existing bathroom there where the health department is requiring that we put in the disinfection system. They haven't shut us down yet. It's still usable, but we just applied for a grant that's going to help us pay for that, because in my opinion, that building should not be closed, which was the idea presented, was to close that building so that we wouldn't have to go through this expense. But now with this SAM grant that we recently applied for, we will have running water with a filtration or a disinfectant system at Fox Valley.
Republicans? All right. Well, I wanted to say that we are going to wrap it up because we're actually just about at the 2-hour mark. I want to say thank you to everyone coming out. I know that not everyone's questions were necessarily answered. There were some questions that were still on the table here. There were questions that were emailed in. I truly encourage you to contact all of the candidates running for town board to find out what their positions are and to really follow through with your concerns. We're only one organization, and we're trying to, again, help to educate the public, but now it's your turn. So if you could just take the baton and reach out to these people so you can make an informed decision in November. And we truly thank you for coming out. And again, one last plug. I know most of the candidates were talking about GBHO in one form or another. We are looking for volunteers. We're looking for people to further our good works in Golden's Bridge. We're coming up to our 6th year as an organization. And this is something that we feel passionate about, helping to educate the public. Our last public education session was in February of 2020, which with the NYSDOT study. And that was very important because it does impact us. Again, thank you all for coming out. Thank you to the candidates. And thank you, everyone, for behaving civilly. And I know that we can. Thank you.
You're watching Lewisboro Community Television, Channel 20.